Nice to see everyone here this morning. So quick disclaimer or caveat. As you heard, I'm also a pastor, so while I'm speaking, I may switch to preaching, right? If I do, please forgive me. I'm going to try to, just stay on track. I want to speak about something I believe is very important. I want to thank the speaker, Uche. Thank you so much for starting up with. I mean, that was an amazing session, and there are a few things you spoke about I'm going to be driving on in my own speech, right? And when I was told I was going to be speaking today, one of the things that came to mind was, how can I help different categories of people, right? So I want to try as much as I can to help those that are trying to start something, one. I also want to help those that have started something and have maybe were discouraged and dropped or stopped along the line, right? I also want to help those that started and are doing okay but can do better, right? So I'm going to try to, as much as possible, use my experience in business to try to help as best as I can. And I'm going to be doing that with storytelling. I'm going to be telling you stories about different things I've come across, right, in business. And the goal is to help you to scale, right? So I'm going to be talking about scaling with purpose. And we are going to be looking at 4 underrated drivers of business success. Underrated drivers. We don't talk about them enough, but they are very important, right? And to help us so we don't forget what I'm talking about today, I developed an acronym for what I'm going to be sharing, and it's called GRIP. GRIP, right? So what you want to do is just remember, get a grip, right? So if you can go to the next slide. A lot of times when we speak about business, right, we focus on revenue, we focus on marketing, right? But long-term sustainable scaling requires often overlooked drivers, and that's basically what we are sharing today. So I want to talk about a few things that I saw that helped, because I did some reflection and I thought, okay, what are the things that helped me succeed in, or the major things that helped me succeed in business, right? So the first one, if you can go to the next slide, is G. And G stands for grit. How many of us have heard the word grit before? Grit, right? If you go look at the definition of grit, it talks something around passion, perseverance, right? Passion, perseverance, not giving up. And one of the things you must understand with starting a business or maybe running a business, there will be times that you feel like giving up. There will be times that, for those that have ever tried launching something before, do you know that feeling of trying to launch something and then you get to a roadblock? Maybe they tell you something like, oh, this is required to launch this business, and you're like, oh my God, right? Grit is the ability to keep pushing forward, right? And that's what I want to encourage the community to begin to do, and let's begin to imbibe that virtue, right? And I'm going to be talking about an experience I had. Can we go to the next slide? I don't know who knows this. Have you ever, does anyone know what this is? Do you know what these things are? These are gemstones. The first business, now I said I'm going to be sharing my story. The first business I ever went into, is the gemstone business, right? You asked me, how did I go into gemstone business? I was in a conversation one day, and someone just spoke about an illiterate. I was in a conversation, and this one from the village, and he says, he doesn't know why this young man wear tie everywhere, but there are so many mineral resources around us. And he mentioned one. The name of this gemstone is called tourmaline. Tourmaline is a precious, semi-precious gemstone. Some of them are more expensive than diamonds. We have it so much in Nigeria, a lot of them in Nigeria, everywhere. So when you mentioned tourmaline, I went on Google when I got home. I didn't even know the spelling. So I typed it in. I started checking what was tourmaline. So I checked different spellings, and every time I saw gemstones tourmaline, I said, oh, because I wrote T-O-M-A-L-I-N. The spelling is T-O-U-R-M-A-L-I-N-E. So I said, okay, tourmaline, so we have it in Nigeria. What does that mean? At the time I was working in a tech company in Nigeria. Oh, sorry. That's my preaching picture. Okay. So at the time, I was working in a tech company in Nigeria, so of course I was a very busy person. But what I did was I started doing my research, and I was like, okay, where did you get those products? First and foremost, I went on Google. I stumbled on a place where miners actually converge to sell their produce. Asked my wife, and my wife is here, but it's good I introduce her. Tiwa, that's my wife, my beautiful wife here. Actually, because she's been through a lot of, because I'm a very spontaneous person. On the next Saturday, I got in my car, put the location on Google Maps, the area. It was out of state. It was like traveling from London to maybe Ottawa. Okay, not to Ottawa, but like Kingston. And I got in my car and I drove. right? Now I go to the location, I'm like, okay, what next? Like, imagine entering a city and you are looking, how do you ask people I want to buy a gemstone? So I go to the city, I park my car, I look for a bike rider, because I saw something they wrote in the Google Maps about the kind of people that sell those things, what the market looks like. I park my car, I call the bike rider, and I'm like, there's this place I heard about. You see? Anyway, the guy said, oh, he knows the place. I dropped my car and I went on the bike and we drove a few kilometers. I told him, can you tell me where I just parked my car because I didn't even know the name? And we drove a few kilometers and I got to, a location and I saw people selling dollars. I told the guy to wait. I said, these people, I said, sorry, do you saw? They said, what was that? So I now went back to the bike rider. I said, you brought me to the wrong place. He said, oh, he made a mistake. There's another place. I'm telling you about grit. Grit, not giving up. He said, there's another place. I said, okay. I said, but if you fail me this time, like, I may not pay you. Like, they're frustrating me. So I went on the bike and we got to this place. And I entered this place, very unassuming place. I got in there and I started asking questions. I said, I want to buy this. Someone looked at me. He said, size, this is the right place. Come with me. And he took me to a place, a store there. And I got into this store. I said, I'm interested in doing this. They said, oh, this is where people actually bring their stuff to buy. And I dropped my number. The leader of the store just said, you know what, let's not talk now. Take my number, let's have a conversation. I went back to my state, Lagos. The guy called me in the evening. We had a long conversation. We became very good friends. And he started teaching me the business. Let's stop here. I mean, there's a lot more to that. That's how I got into this business. I mean, my first business ever, majorly. Right? Now, I got into the business. The next thing is, who do we sell to? Right? Because now I have access to the thing, who do I sell to? I sent about maybe 100 emails to different companies around the world. I'm talking about Greek now, for supply of these stones. I mean, nobody responded. Right? Because, of course, I have to see where the stone was. Imagine receiving an email, oh, my name is this, I'm from Nigeria, I have gemstones. Will you respond? Does it not sound like a scam? So when I was sending the emails, I thought I was a scammer. Like, I'm like, this is a scam. It sounds like a scam. But you get something that happens in that process. I'm trying to share these experiences for someone here to just understand that we don't give up. I mean, that's the first thing that should come to. I mean, you must understand that business will find out challenges. So, you know what? A guy responded to me. He's from Austria. Today, we are very good friends. And he said, you know what? I saw your email. I'm sure you should know that this email sounds like a scam. But for any possibility that you are really genuine, I don't mind having a conversation with you. And I responded, I said, I'm not a scammer. I actually have access to this thing. I said, okay, you know what you can do? He said, you will now have to trust me. He said, because of the reputation of where you are coming from, I can't part the phone. You will send me what you have. I will assess it and make you an offer. And I took the bold step. I bought these things, I sent it to him, he assessed it, and I made my first sale. And that's how I started a business relationship. I'm talking about Greek now. Greek. Now that's part one of the story. So the part one, so I started exporting at that level. That's the raw form. What you saw is the raw form. And then I started asking questions. I'm like, when did people receive this thing? What did they do with them? Do you know no one in the market knew? I'm like, when they get this thing, like no one uses it, like what is it used for? No one knew. I'm like, okay. And I became very curious. And I said I must find a way. And then funny enough, within my network, I didn't know there was some guy there in my network that was the president of Nigerian Miners Association, Lagos State Chapter. I met this man, I had a conversation with him, he laughed. He said, do you want to know what the end product looks like? Let's go to the next slide. You will see the end product of it. Do you still have? Okay. Yeah. Do you remember what you saw before? Yeah, this is the end product. These are my stones. This is the end product. So the guy told me, and in the conversation, the guy just told me that, you know what, I do these things too. What I do is when you get the stones, you send them to Sri Lanka, to a lapidary in Sri Lanka. They will get your stones, they will cut it, different cut, diamond cut, there are different kinds of cut, and they will send it back to you. I said, that's a serious risk to take. He said, yes, that's how business is. I got a lapidary in Sri Lanka, I sent my stones to them, they cut it. Now to give you, I don't have to give you perspective of this thing. That thing I showed you before, a gram of the tourmaline, you can sell a gram, maybe like, a gram goes for about maybe $100 to $200, right? When you cut the stone, you can get about 5 or 6 from a gram. From that stone, like you can get like 5 or 6 of this. Each one goes for like 3,000. Are you seeing the value? Does someone understand what I just explained? I'm talking about grit, and then I started this. Now let's go to the next slide. And now talking about scaling, then I moved to Canada sometime after that, and I'm like, how do I bring this value to Canada? This was 2016. Myself and my wife were at the Toronto Gemstone show. It's a very big one, Toronto Gem Show, displaying our products, right? So I'm taking you through a process to understand that. So a lot of people saw me at this place and thought, oh, this guy is established. They didn't. I could not explain to people how I got to this place. And what I'm saying today is that this could be any one of you. I'm telling you the truth. Have you heard that story? You saw how I took you through. Was I a professional? No. Did I know anything about it? No. So my point is, you can actually go into something that you have no idea about at some point in your life. So I don't want you to limit yourself and limit your potential. And when you start the process, remember what I said, grit. Grit is what takes you from level A to level B, not giving up. There will be obstacles, there will be challenges. I didn't actually speak about all of them, but the truth is, I went from that point of knowing nothing to the point of displaying my jewelry at Toronto. I'm sure a lot of people are shocked because nobody knew that. A lot of people don't know that I ever sold gemstones. I don't do that anymore because I have other things I'm doing. I'm pressing them, and that involved a lot of traveling back and forth. Right? So I stopped that part of my business, but this was what it led to. Can we move to the next one? Okay, this is also about grit. How many of us know this product? So on the left there is the container. On the right is my storage. I was the first person to bring a container of Maltina to Canada. And it's a story of grit. I'm telling you about grit. I'm dwelling on grit because I want you to understand that challenges should never limit us. And how did I get into doing this? We had a conversation one day, we were discussing one day, I think we had an event, and we were served Vitamalt. How many of us know Vitamalt? And I remember I was drinking Vitamalt that day, and we were like, oh, how we miss Maltina, Amstel Malta. And someone said, why is it that no one even sells these things? And that became a challenge for me. I was in Canada at the time. I'm like, why does no one sell Maltina? Really? And I started asking questions. And I spoke to the top African store owners. Like, why don't you guys really sell these things in volume? They're like, oh, they don't allow it in Canada. I said, so how do you bring it? They said they smuggle it in. I said, why? They said, oh, because it's not really allowed. And for me, that was not enough. I'm like, it's not allowed. Why is it not allowed? Right? So I started making my research, and I found out that, the challenge with us Africa sometimes is the way some things that are not acceptable worldwide, we do them in Africa. So when you look at the Maltina after water bottle, they write there, as vitamin A, B, C, D. How many of us have seen that on those bottles? Those are claims. It makes Maltina a drug. It makes after water a drug. Do you understand that? So I saw that was the major challenge. And I'm like, okay, what can we do differently? And the other day I went to claim my goods at the customs in Mississauga. And I spoke to the customs officer and I said, okay, you know what, there's this product I want to bring in. This is the challenge. It is any way I can bring it in. And the lady turned her laptop, her screen to me. I said, let me show you something. And she showed me a secret. I'm not telling you yet. Like, if you want the secret, maybe after it, I will really give it to you. She showed me something, right? Showed me something. I said, okay, you can actually bring it this way into the country. Now, that was part one of the issue solved. Second issue, I'm talking about grit here. How do I get this product to bring it to Canada? If you can look on this part of it, you see what's written here? Export. Export. This is not, I'm not buying from a dealer to bring, I'm buying directly from the Nigerian breweries, the manufacturer of this product. They are export product that has the right label. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know if you've ever seen this carton. I'm sure you've never seen it in this kind of carton. So how did I get Nigerian breweries to supply me? I look for these things. I'm hoping I'm inspiring somebody and doing something to you out today. These things are not as difficult as they seem. How did I get to become the authorized distributor for Nigerian breweries in Canada? Very simple. I called someone I know. I mean, you'll be shocked, my mother-in-law. I said, ma, on your way from work today, can you just help me find Nigerian breweries? And find out if they have an export department. And that's what she did. She went on her way from work, went to Nigerian breweries. I'm shaking. These are stories that people will not really tell you, so you don't go through the same thing. See, I've learned that you lift others and you lift others to rise, right? So that's why I'm telling you this story, so that you know it is not rocket science. She went to Nigerian breweries, sat at the lobby, and said, oh, is there anybody in charge of export? Fortunately, the guy was in the office. They called him down. She met him, got his email address, and gave it to me. I sent the guy an email, we started a conversation. I said, I want to bring your products to Canada. He said, really? He said, let's work together. Long story short, I brought a container of Maltina into Canada. Legally, I cleared it, and these are the products, and then I sold them. Do you understand that? Great. First challenge, you can't bring it in. Second challenge, how do you get the company to bring it? If there is anything you should learn from the stories I just told, is that I did not give up. The challenges were like stepping stones to the next level for me. I saw those challenges as okay, because the truth is, what everyone can do, everyone will rush in there. Do you understand that? If it was so simple, everyone would be doing it. So most times there's value in doing the things that people struggle with. So when I hear things like, oh, this is not possible, that's where I want to go into. Do you get? And I'm hoping that from this meeting, it will arise people that will do the unconventional things. I'm hoping that from this meeting will arise people that will change the narrative. I'm hoping that from this meeting it will arise people that will challenge all the different roadblocks that we've encountered in business. All right, so let's move to the next one. Sorry for taking time, but I just felt I needed to explain that. The second one is relationships, which is collaboration that you mentioned, sir. Relationships, I see them as one of the most important capital resources you can have in business. Relationships are critical for our next level. I'm going to explain something, but I want to make two things together. So, how is relationship? Let's go to the next one, because I want to talk about it together. I is improvement, right? Improvement. Now, I'm going to first talk about relationship. I want to show you a product and tell you the story of that product. I said I'm telling stories today, right? Let's go to the next slide, please. This product. Yeah, this is my product. Toothpaste, charcoal toothpaste. How many of us know what charcoal toothpaste is? Right? I want to share the story with you. How did I get to do this product? I could not afford to do it alone. Now, for this, I was a distributor to a company in Asia that was selling this kind of product. And at some point, we had an issue with another guy that wanted to claim the North American territory. Right? So this guy came up and said, he's their distributor too, and the province team was going to be in charge of North America. And I'm like, I reached out to the company and they said there's nothing like that. They are giving as many distributors as possible. And these guys kept making noise. And then the manager called me one day and he said, do you know you can own your own toothpaste brand? I said, own my own toothpaste brand? He said, yeah. I said, okay, what does that take? And then they mentioned the minimum order quantity for them to manufacture my own for me. It was beyond, my whole life savings. I could not afford it. It was not possible. Now, guess what happened? I reached out to two friends of mine. That guys, there's this opportunity. Look at what I've done. I showed them the books, what I've done with the one of the distributor for. They said, there's not an option to have our own. Let's come together and do this. Instantly, they sent money to my account. And that's how we created this product, three of us. At the time, we were number 2 in North America in toothpaste sales, online toothpaste sales. That's how good this product did. We built it from a place of knowledge, like we collaborated and we're able to do this. Do you understand what I'm saying? So relationships are key. Don't underestimate the power. And guess what? I could meet them to give me funding because they trusted me, right? I had not borrowed money from them before I didn't return it. That also says something about character. They could trust what I was doing because they have been track record of keeping to my word. Because there's also, we don't understand that relationships also like a bank. You save in relationships. I didn't mess up the relationship. That's why I could get access to the kind of funding. And then I had a track record of at least doing things. I started doing a few things. And that's why I was able to get the access. So that's for relationships. Now let's talk about improvement. What made the product a success? Let me teach you something now. Let me explain something to us. The challenge a lot of times is when you want to do a business, you find out sometimes that it seems everything is saturated. Do I have a business? Yes. So you want to do this thing, everybody's doing the same thing I want to do. How do I do it? Let me tell you something, my beloved. It's not a challenge. It's not a challenge. That's where improvement comes. And I'm going to teach you the strategy of improvement in business and how it has helped me. Now, this toothpaste, everyone selling the toothpaste at the time sold it as just the toothpaste. So when I was going to launch my own, I went to research, okay, what are the challenges that people had with buying charcoal toothpaste? Guess what all the negative reviews were about? They said it made their toothbrushes black. I said, okay, how can I solve that problem? I said, okay, what if, and I went to research, are there toothbrushes that are already black? And I found out there is something called bamboo toothbrush. Can you see this? Yes. Do you know how much a bamboo toothbrush sells for? 20 cents. Do you get what I'm saying? 20 cents a piece. I said, okay, I called my manufacturer. I said, can we buy bamboo toothbrushes and put it in the pack of the toothpaste? He said, why not? I was one of the first. If I was the first to do that. So I bought the toothbrush and I put it inside. Guess what? I sold it at the same price. So if you want to buy a toothpaste, you go online to buy a toothpaste, and you see one that is just the toothpaste, you see another one that has a toothbrush. Which one will you buy? Do you understand the concept? Improvement. Just improve on what is already existing. It's not every time you need to reinvent the wheel. That's the truth. You don't always need to reinvent the wheel. Improve on it. What else can I do better that will make people pay the same? And I can offer it at the same value, the same amount. But people will be running and gravitating towards it. Now let's go to the next one. Now, because I learned this and it was successful, let's go to the next one. Then, this came about. another product. I'm just showing you improvement. This is a pet grooming glove. What they use it for? People that have, do we have people that have pet dogs here, like dogs, cats? And in our African community, we don't do that a lot. If left us, if it was only us in Canada, there would be no dogs. Because are we selfish? So why don't you have, ask your neighbor, why don't you have a dog? Okay. But you know, you guys know some, you know that in Canada, one of the greatest markets to enter is the pet market. Yes. Do you know why? You know, some people not eat, but they rather have their dogs eat. Yes. Don't you see people taking their dogs on walks during winter? Early in the morning? Yes. Is it normal?
It's normal to them.
So I know, so I already learned that these guys are so passionate about dogs and all that. I'm like, okay, how can I enter this pet space? So this was very common at the time. Pet gloves, very, very common. Everybody was selling it online. I said, okay, what can I do to improve it? And then see what I added here. It's the nail clipper and file. I will not joke with you. Let me just tell you the truth. The file is like 5 cents. The clipper maybe like 15 cents, so like 20 cents. I was able to get it. I threw it inside the pack, and this is what I offer. I'm talking about improvement. So for some people here, there are things you want to go into, their market you want to enter, but you're like, everybody's doing it. Yeah. What can you do to improve it? You know, and then when I was preparing this presentation, I thought to myself, okay, how can I help an industry practically? And an industry that came to my mind, right, is like you have a hair salon in maybe London, you have so that people come to make their hair in your salon, and then you are really, really good, and there's another good person, right, that also makes both of you are equal quality, you charge the same money. You ask me, okay, how can I improve my business? Let's go to the next one. And I did a little research for you. For anyone that has their salon, let me show you something. Have you looked at this air bonnet? Have you seen the value, the price? That's less than half a dollar. That's about 48 cents. If you are buying 100 pieces. Imagine you buy, because I think for an average hairstyle, it's like $100 by 120, right? So imagine you ship these bonnets in and you have a promo and you say, oh, any customer that comes, you give them free air bonnets. So if you're the customer and you have 2 guys that are equally good, who will you go to? And what is really the cost? Have you seen that improvement is not as difficult as it sounds? It's very doable. And I'm hoping that this translates to something in our mind today. All right, let's go to the final one. Sorry for taking the time. Let me finish here. The final one, I said grit. So G stands for grit. R, relationships. I, improvement. P is called providence. Providence. I mean, I don't want you to underestimate the power of providence in business, right? I mean, I hear people say things like, oh, like, you know, business just be strategic, be diligent, be hardworking. Please do not underestimate the power of providence. There are times that something happen. We call it luck. I don't think it's luck. Those things are too big to be luck, right? And I'll share an example with you so that as I wrap up my session, providence, Cambridge Dictionary definition, is the care and control of God or of a force that is not human in origin, right? It means there are times that you don't, the thing just click, you're just in the right place with the person with the next key to your key to the keys to your next level. Sometimes you're just getting on the right course, sometimes you're just at the gym, and the person you get talking with is the person that can approve what you've been trying to apply for. Is that normal? That's providence. So don't let's underestimate the power of providence in business. A few years back, as I wrap up my session, myself and my wife were working on a project, very important project. We needed about I think about $100,000, right, for that project. And at that time, we were doing a lot of purchase of inventory. Because I could not stop purchasing inventories, I was buying inventory, I was doing a lot that I didn't have time to raise that fund. So 3 months to the time we needed the $100,000, I had 0 in the savings for that project. I had not saved anything. I mean, there was no way it was going to be possible. And then one day, now let me explain this, providence. One day, my wife, so there's a product I saw that was very good, was doing well in Canada, but the challenge was they could not meet up with the demand of customers. Everyone wanted that product. So guess what they did? They rationed the number they could give distributors to 20 units. So they didn't give us more than 20 units each. So when you want to buy from the company, they only give you 20 units. And that 20 units is like 20 units a month. And it's the kind of product that you list now in minutes, people have bought the 20 units. That's how it was. So I made an order from the book. I said, okay, let me just be doing it like that. Of course, it was not reasonable, it was not very little change. I said, let me be doing it like that. And then one day, it's Saturday night. we received a call. I placed another on Friday. We received a call on Saturday. In fact, they called my wife's number. My wife said, "Look, there's someone on the phone for you." Now, let me tell you where Providence comes in. This company, one of the biggest beauty companies in Canada, that day, the MD was in the office at night on Saturday, he just came to work, and he saw that some orders had not been fulfilled because there were some questions they had, and he picked the phone himself to call, and he called my wife, like my number. I put my wife's number, because I would use my number to order, then I'll use my wife's number to order. Do you understand? So he called my wife's number. He says, "Hello, this is." And my wife said, "Okay, hold on." And my wife brought the phone to me. Normally, at that time, I don't like talking on Saturday night because I'm preparing for Sunday. But I just felt, let me talk to this person. And we got talking. And the guy said, "Oh, my name is this. And this, I run this thing." I said, "You run? What does you run mean?" He said, "Oh, I own it." I said, "You own it?" We spoke for about an hour. I'm not joking. We became brothers. He's a German Canadian. We became brothers. The guy said, "You know what I'll do for you? I'm going to give you as many units as you want. I'm going to give you as many units as you want." The guy was bringing from rail. He was sending my consignment through rail. He said, "Any unit you want, you are my brother now." He gave me a special discount code. My beloved, in 2 months, we raised what we required through that relationship with that guy. Do you understand what I'm saying? So don't underestimate. So, I mean, will you got that luck?
No.
Was it that I knew how to do business? Was it that I was strategic? Just happened that the guy chose to call that day and was me he called. And to today we have a relationship. So my point is this. In business, there are other things, drivers that people don't look at. Right? There is grit, not giving up. There's relationships that you can leverage on that you cannot imagine. Some people, you look down on them and say, "What can this one do for me?" You'll be shocked what they can offer you. There's improvements you can do. Areas where you feel are saturated, there are still things you can do. And then there's a part of providence. I'm hoping that with what I'll share today, I'll be able to stir something up in us. Right? Because we have what it takes to make a change. Trust me. Forget about your background. At least they introduced me. I'm an HR person. What does HR have to do with any of the things I've mentioned today? Does it have anything? No. So a lot of us are even better positioned than myself to do business. So I'm hoping today that this stirs something up in us. There's so much you can offer. There are doors you can knock on that will open to you. But the challenge is, are you knocking? My hope today for everyone here today is that you will begin to rethink all your previous prejudices and begin to take the steps you need to take. Thank you very much. God bless you.